The film opens in a restaurant, and the very first image we see is chilling. Several people are lying dead on the floor. Before we can process what happened, the story takes us back to the beginning, to the events that led to this devastating moment. We are introduced to Nancy, the film's central character. She is standing alone in a field, holding a pregnancy test, and it comes back positive. The news hits her like a wave. She is unmarried. This was completely unplanned, and the fear on her face says everything. Shaken and distressed, she makes her way to her grandfather's restaurant where she works as a manager. Her car runs out of petrol on the way, so she has no choice but to walk. That is when Bobby, one of the restaurant's employees, spots her and offers her a ride on his cycle. The two of them arrive at the restaurant together. Once inside, her grandfather pulls her aside and explains that he has to step out for the night to attend an important meeting. He is confident that Nancy can handle things on her own, but he has asked Jack to stay behind and help her. Nancy's reaction is immediate and sharp. She does not like Jack, not even a little. She pushes back and asks her grandfather to let Bobby stay instead. But he shuts the idea down, saying he has already made arrangements with Jack. Nancy walks out of the office, and almost right away, she is hit with a wave of nausea and rushes outside to vomit. Outside, she runs straight into Jack, who is standing there secretly drinking. One look at Nancy and he puts it together. She is pregnant. He leans in and asks, "Does your grandpa know about this?" Nancy says nothing, and before the moment can stretch any further, her grandfather comes out, sending her anxiety through the roof, but he does not notice her condition. He simply turns to Jack and says, "Treat every customer properly, and Nancy will assist you," and leaves. That is when Nancy finally asks him the question that has been weighing on her all day. Why is this meeting so important? Her grandfather pauses and then tells her the truth. Since her grandmother passed away, the loneliness has become unbearable. He has decided to remarry, and tonight he is going to meet the woman. Nancy is crushed. The idea of sharing her grandfather's love with someone new cuts deep, and she walks back inside carrying that weight for a while. The evening feels manageable. Then a gang of young boys pulls up outside the restaurant. They are loud, reckless, and deliberately provocative, revving their bikes, making noise, and in a disturbing display of cruelty. They kill a rabbit right outside. Nancy is furious. She walks outside to confront them directly. She tells them to leave, but instead of backing down, they pull on masks and walk right into the restaurant, mocking her and demanding to be served. Nancy warns them she will call the police. They do not flinch, so she picks up the phone and pretends to make the call, and it works. The boys leave, but as they walk out, one of them turns back and delivers a cold warning. "We are leaving now, but we will be back." What happens next makes things worse. The entire staff had watched those boys disrespect Nancy, and some of them had actually left. Nancy is burning with humiliation. She calls everyone together and reminds them firmly that she is their manager. She is the owner's granddaughter, and they owe her their respect. Following her instructions is not optional. It is their job. Then Jack opens his mouth. He tells her flatly that this place belongs to her grandfather, not her, and that she deserves no credit. He goes further, pointing out that there are people working here with far more experience than her. That does it. Nancy fires him on the spot. Jack protests. She cannot do this. Nancy does not back down. She is the manager tonight, and her word is final. Jack takes off his apron and walks out. Even Nancy herself is surprised by how intensely she reacted. She retreats to the restroom to collect herself. When she comes out, Bobby is waiting. He tells her that since she fired Jack, he can stay and help. It is not safe for her to be alone tonight. But Nancy reads his offer as pity, or worse, an attempt to get closer to her. She turns on him. She tells him coldly that he is not her type, and if he is trying to make friends by impressing her, he should not bother. Bobby is visibly hurt. He says nothing and leaves. The rest of the staff shifts and shortly after, and Nancy is completely alone in the restaurant. She starts cleaning up. Notices no customers have come in, and calls her grandfather to tell him she fired Jack. He is shocked but worried. He tells her to stay alert and call him immediately if anything feels off. Nancy brushes off his concern. She puts on some music and gets to work, and for a little while. She is actually enjoying herself. That peace does not last. Looking outside, she sees them, the same gang, back again, just as they promised. The sight of them reignites her fury. She secures the building, calls the police, and reports that a biker gang is harassing her. The officer on the line promises to send someone over. And then the noise starts, loud, violent banging on every door, every wall. Someone is trying to get in. Terrified, Nancy ducks behind a counter. The banging goes on and then, without warning, stops completely. A common knock follows. Nancy cautiously peeks out and sees a police officer. Inspector Sheriff, relieved. She opens the door. He steps in and says he needs to inspect the entire premises. He checks every room, every corner, inside and outside, and finds nothing. No gang, no one. He radios his team and says there does not appear to be any real threat. As if Nancy might have imagined the whole thing, to make her feel safer. He decides to stay a while and asks her to make him a coffee. But the way the officer looks at her makes Nancy deeply uncomfortable. Then he approaches her and says she should come with him to the police station. He tells her the gang has been involved in serious crimes, and that filing an official complaint would be safer. He starts trying to push her toward the door, and at that exact moment, the gang attacks from behind. They ambush Inspector Sheriff and kill him right in front of Nancy. She is horrified. She runs and hides inside a storage area, trembling, desperately trying to figure out how to call for help. Then, through the window, she sees Bobby. He had already been on his way back to check on her. The sight of a familiar face gives her a thread of hope. She silences him quickly and pulls him inside. She had already managed to send a message to a friend asking for help, to either come or send some. But before Nancy and Bobby can do anything, the gang finds them. They are captured, bound, and separated. Nancy is taped up, locked in a room, but she breaks free, still shaking, still terrified. She grabs a knife when one of the men approaches and stabs him from behind. He drops dead. When Nancy pulls off his mask, she freezes. It is not a stranger. It is one of the employees from her own restaurant. And then she sees Bobby, his hands untied, standing with them. The truth lands on her like a blow. These are not random attackers. They are her own staff, seeking revenge. And Bobby, the one person she thought had her back, had turned against her because of how she had humiliated him earlier that same day. The boy Bobby had injured during the chaos is still hurt, and the group drags him inside. They are trying to figure out their next move. This has become a police matter now, and things are spiraling. Bobby notices Nancy's car keys and picks them up. Then one of Jack's associates tells him that Nancy has escaped. Jack is furious and orders Bobby to find her, But something shifts in Bobby. He looks at Jack and punches him in the face. He has switched sides. He is going to help Nancy. Nancy, meanwhile, has managed to throw boiling water in the face of the man chasing her. He crumples in agony. She slips into the restroom and finds Bobby, wounded. She is about to help him when her friend finally arrives. But one look at the chaos and her friend panics and runs, without even thinking to call the police. Nancy, still running on adrenaline and fear, finds her car keys and makes a break for the exit. But Jack catches her. He grabs her by the hair, stabs her in the back, and drags her body back inside the hotel. He is certain everyone is dead, but Nancy is still alive, fighting through the pain. She crawls across the floor toward Bobby's lifeless body. She breaks down. Bobby was the only one in that entire building who had genuinely cared about her, and she had pushed him away. The grief and the rage together give her something to hold on to. She pulls herself to her feet, gets into her car, and drives to Jack's house. When Jack opens the door and sees Nancy standing there, the blood drains from his face. She does not hesitate. She stabs him in his own garden, and it is done. Then the exhaustion finally catches up with her. She stumbles, barely keeping herself upright, and for a moment, her mother's face flashes through her mind. A car pulls up. It is her father, who spotted her vehicle and stopped. He takes one look at her and is overcome with worry, promising to get her to a doctor immediately. Nancy looks at him, her voice calm and steady despite everything she has just survived, and says simply, "I'm pregnant," and that is where the story ends.